Ladies and gentlemen, it is your boy Paul Briggs here with another edition of the Paul's Paradox Podcast, a monthly look into anything I might find interesting. Today again, I am joined by my esteemed colleague and good friend, Marcus Walker. Marcus, thank you for joining us today.
Man, thank you for having me again. I love doing the paradox.
Yeah, so it's March. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Carl. Yeah, so it is March. And so of course with March being spring and all of this, I don't know how the weather is. The weather is sometimes it was warm, and then sometimes you have to bundle up with the coat. Right now it's raining, so and we're about to hit April, which is probably the wettest month down here in Virginia where I'm at. And they say April showers bring May flowers, and then they told the kid what Mayflowers bring it was supposed to be pilgrims. That's an old childhood joke. So I don't even know if they still teach that anymore. I found out a lot of these schools don't do home ec, they don't do cursive, they don't. So it's like, whew. But we're going to jump into our topics today. I got about three or four topics that are just rambling around the brain. First one I have is the NBA in-season tournament. Most NBA teams have about 10 games left in the regular season. I know both conferences are everybody's jostling for position. I know in the West they talked about as of right now, the season ended today. You will have the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Suns all in the play-in tournament. So the old guard, is hanging in. And then within a game or so, you got even Dallas could fall up in there. So you can have Luca, Steph, LeBron, and KD. That would be something else. It definitely bring a lot of intrigue as a Pacers and self-professed Pacers fan. I know for years the Pacers have always been in that purgatory of 6, 7, 8. Oh well, at least 5, 6, 7. Have always been in that purgatory. But the fact that this year they're them leading the NBA in scoring and they're making a concerted effort to not want to be in. So whereas the Pacers will always kind of be like, they'll be 6 and 7, play in the first round, depending on who they match up. If they match up well, they may have a fighting shot to win. If they don't, then they're out and nobody's worse for wear, and they stay in the cyclical thing. I think the fact that them getting to the finals in the in-season tournament let folk know they was for real. Them making the trade, which allowed them to make the trade for Pascal Siakam because they're trying to go all in this year. Um, but I think it also helped the Pacers for teams like the Pacers to get out of that rut of, hey, let's just do enough to make the playoffs. We're 4, 5, 6, 7. Our coach gets to keep the job, GM keep the job, and they know we could be 8 and out of it. It is just like this play in is like mess around and hang around at the end if you want to. You may not at 7, may not even still make it. You're not guaranteed. So your
Right.
thoughts?
You know, it's kind of odd to me because, like, in one part, it does make the end of the season more intriguing. There's more possibilities of what can happen. And I know this is the entertainment business, so bottom line, that's what they're probably looking at. I think the way the game is played today, it's not really entertaining as far as a competitive standpoint. Like, you don't really see people, you don't see a sense of urgency throughout most of the season. And so I think this was done for that reason. Um, but this the sort of downside to that is that, if I've done my business for 82 games and I've gone, we're number 7, we're number 8, you telling me I still ain't made it yet. Another team that's been floating around could probably come take my spot. And that's just kind of, I don't know, that kind of bothers me a little bit because you think about it. There's always the comparison, Jordan and LeBron, right? So if there was a play-in tournament, then Jordan would have made the postseason every year of his career. Remember, because I think the last 2 years with the Wizards, they were number 9.
Right.
And it's like, you would be in. But I think at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and so they're trying to make sure that it can be entertaining. Some of that's on the players, but I think that's what they're going for. We want to make it to where it's something. It's you're sitting at the edge of your seat the last 10, 15 games to see who's gonna get in, who's gonna get out. So it's a
I
business
kind
move.
at first I was like, I don't like this, and see, because I'm more of a traditionalist, I want to keep it the way it was, the race for eight. The race for eight. And, everybody was race for eight. But then you started getting this parity in the league where it was like the eight seed was sewn up so early. It was like now, and I think the tanking thing has something to do with it. When teams start, I have always believed there should never be an incentive to lose on any NBA game. There should never be an incentive to lose. And I'm reminded of, I want to say it was either the 2005 or 2006 season where the Clippers and the Grizzlies played each other last game of the season in Memphis. And the Clippers and Memphis have both had qualified to get to the playoffs. The problem is that one of them was going to be the five seed, the other one was going to be the six seed. And this was when the NBA still had the time where if you was a division winner, regardless of how bad your record was, you got a top three seed. And so, but if you had a better record than a division winner, you would get the host. So the Clippers, the winner was going to play. The winner was going to be a five seed and play Dallas. I think it was either Dallas or San Antonio. I'm almost certain it was Dallas. Was going to play Dallas. The loser would have been the sixth seed and got to play the Nuggets because the Nuggets won the division that year, and the division was just completely horrible. Midwest. And so Mark Ivoroni was the coach of the Grizzlies. Denver, I mean not Denver, the Clippers took their whole starting five. Sam Cassell, I think it was like Sam Cassell was like toward the end of his run, years or whatever. They sat all of them. They sat the entire starting five. They didn't even put. They
Right.
just put guys off the practice squad or whatever. They ain't played all season. Activated them just for that game. What did Mark Ivoroni do? Started his normal five. Grizzlies end up winning the game. Go play Dallas and got swept. It was either Dallas or San Antonio. One of the two Texas teams, and they got swept. They
I
didn't
think it
win.
was Dallas.
Yeah, matter of fact, I think this was still in the streak, but they hadn't even won. They had not won a series. They ain't won a game. Nothing. Um, Before the
Because we kept, what was it? We were it was two, what was it? 2-2-1? Was it 2-2-1-1-1 then? Because I remember
yes,
we weren't getting very many games in Memphis
right.
during the playoff series. It was like,
Yes, we kept getting swept. We get two.
yeah,
We get game three, game four, get swept. That was it. Then you
right.
had the breakout year with the Spurs. I want to say that was the 07-08 season with Zebo. With Zebo and them beating San Antonio was the one seed, and the Grizzlies was the eight seed, and Zebo just had the career game, and then they won like I think in six. Yeah. So they won in six. So they knew they had to go back to the San Antonio game seven. That might not would have worked out, but game six they closed it out, and and they won. The Grizzlies win their first playoff series, and
Yeah.
Zebo just came alive, and so
just
that's always stuck on me. But they had gotten swept all the way throughout. They got
I
swept by
just think
San
the
Antonio
league is
twice
having to do a
and
lot of.
Dallas.
I just think the league is having to do a lot of a lot of fixing things
Hmm.
that should be solved by competitiveness. You know what I'm saying? I was listening to I think it was Bomani Jones and who was he talking to that night? Was it I can't remember who he was talking to, but they were talking about the NBA. It was Foxworth, and 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 um and so they were talking about how the league has a bit of a problem because there are a lot of people who are involved in it who they didn't play sports. They weren't necessarily into sports. So that sort of competitive part is not there in that instant. But there are a lot of people who know business and who know money, and so they're trying to maximize the profit.
Right.
And I mean, of course, that's what you want to do is maximize the profit, but you can still lose that competitive thing, right? Where you saw the I gotta win, I gotta beat you, right? That was what was entertaining for me was that Isaiah Thomas really wanted to beat the Celtics. Celtics and the Lakers really wanted to beat each other, right? You could see it, and you would hear it even in the interviews or whatever. And now guys say they want to win, so I can't say, oh no, you don't. But I don't see it on a night in and night out basis. Not from the majority of players, like where superstars took it personal if they lost, and so that part's not in there, or you don't see it as much. And again, they may really have it in their heart that that's how they feel, but as the fan, you're watching. I can definitely go see something else. This is what Bomani, he said this about college basketball. He said it's March Madness right now, and I ain't watching games. He said I'm not watching games. Like I'll find out who won, but I'm not watching games. And I think there's an attitude about basketball that's kind of gotten that way. Like there's other stuff to watch, and so just making it to where threes and dunks go on that's really uncontested, that's not exciting. So you have to do things like this play-in tournament makes it to where the last 15 games you got to play, or a lot of teams have to play. So it's just they're trying to make it work.
That Clippers Grizzlies game I mentioned, they have a Wikipedia page about that game because there was a competitive advantage for losing. To the point they was like, no, we got to change this. We cannot have this happen again.
And see, somebody got so smart where they said, "Hey, I'm not saying people never tanked before, but it got to be so obvious that that's what was going on,
right?
That it's just, it made it not worth being there. Because I told you, I've been to really maybe 3 or 4 NBA games because I'm not in the NBA city. You know what I'm saying? When I was in Memphis, I went to a couple, and the Grizzlies weren't that good until the Grizzlies, they weren't that good when I was there. Right. So
22 and 60,
you just saw them get beat. You saw them get beat. So it was like, okay, but can you imagine, going to a place and you pretty much know they're going to take an L on purpose. So why would I pay hundreds of dollars to come watch that? You know what I'm saying? I can stay at home.
That's what the Wizards are now. Oh Jesus, the Wizards. That's what they are now in DC. Just going to see a play. But however, most of the games I've showed up to, they won. So it's like I've only been to like 3 or 4, and they won. So I guess I don't know. Maybe hey, the Wizards, y'all listen, give me season tickets. You might have a better season. They won. I was just like, okay, well, but all right, but yeah, you're like 9 and 60, and then I show up, you win 2 in a row. It's like, hey, we got a winning streak. I had a winning streak off of 2 years. It's like, yeah.
So I see where it says the average price of an NBA ticket is between $85 and $95. Okay?
Right. Depending on who's playing, yes.
So yeah, depending on who's playing, but 85 and 95. And so that ain't something I want to drop off. Like, for real. People might say, oh, you broke. No, just think about it. You talking about 2, maybe 3, 2.5, close to 3 hours, depending on what goes on in the game. And it wasn't good. Not only was it not good, I can tell you don't care, or I can tell y'all trying to lose. That's a lot of money when I could just watch the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
I could just watch the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, we get mad if we go to a movie and we spend, $20. once you get your food and all that other stuff, maybe more than that. And it was sorry. It was like, man, dang. But you know, they hopefully you think they tried to present a movie. They thought the movie was a good idea. They thought they had something and they put it out there and just found out, you bomb. But sometimes it looked like people ain't trying to play, man.
The thing that's gotten me is that, and the tier ticketing. I don't know if Ten Leonsis was the first one to do this, or at least it was. It what I didn't. Not saying that the Grizzlies didn't do it. I didn't notice it until I got to the DC area where they had the red, white, and blue package. The red was like the top of the line post. Any team LeBron was on, the Lakers, because at the time he was either with the Heat and then going back and forth between the Heat and Cleveland. So any team LeBron was on, Golden State, the Lakers, who else was really good back in the day? Any of your top flight teams. It's almost like they took all 30 teams and said, okay, we're going to slot a 10, 10, and 10. The 10 best teams in the league is the red tickets where, let's say this one seat that was center court, section 419. Fact that I know this is disturbing. 419 in the center, row C, row D. Let's say that ticket would be for the red teams. That ticket may be, let's say, $85, $90. But let's say if they're playing the white teams, um, which are the middle of the pack, that would be like your Bostons and New Yorks. And New York is always going to bring a crowd because it's New York. Even whether it was good or bad, New York's going to bring a crowd. Your Miami's or whatever. Well, no, not Miami. Miami was red level. I can't even think about my brain is just freezing. But teams like New York and stuff, they have a national following. Boston has a national following. Chicago Bulls had a national, even though they weren't very good, it's still because of Chicago. They would be in the white level. That ticket would go from $85, $90 to about $65, maybe about $65. Then you had the blue level, which was like all the bottom feeders. Now that ticket go from 65 to like $44. 30 to $44. Yeah, for and this is like dead center. God forbid if you go down the lower levels. So and even for the blue section, lower levels wasn't gonna be no cheaper than $100. Now that being said, what's so funny is uh went to a game last week when a former staff member of mine had never been to an NBA game. One of the things they did do is they looked up to see how much would it be to sit courtside. So they have this courtside Hennessy suite that would have been $185,000 for the year. You get all your drinks and stuff in the courtside, and with bottle service, all of that. And like for a whole season, $185,000. I'm like, you can't even get a house with it. You can't even get a condo for $185,000. Not in Virginia, especially not in DC. You know, so it's like, why would I want to pay that much money for a team? That don't even get 15 wins a season. And that's 15 wins total. We ain't talking about 15 at home of the 41. We're talking about the 15 total. Wherever they may get it. Yeah, that's a lot. Man, it's just you're talking about the business aspect of it. Going instead of making it where, hey, this is the season ticket price per seat. No, now we want to tier it off. The bigger games, or if the game is on the weekend, they'll charge more. But then during the week, ain't nobody gonna want to come and fight DC traffic. On the weekends, people more free. They come into the city. Hey, we got a game. Come on. Yeah, it's just because even though
It's like
team won Thursday, from when we recorded this, they won on against the Kings on the 21st, and then 2 days later they won against
right.
the Raptors. Raptors on the 23rd. The crowd on Thursday. Now you got to remember they had not won since the 8th, and before that they hadn't won in like 2 months. The crowd was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, they won." I mean, it was almost there was kind of in shock, stunned silence. Whereas Saturday, people was more like, you heard like people would be if you won. Now, granted, it wasn't as many people because that they even had lost. But the fact
So
that it was different. It was quite different. The
I'm
reaction
gonna
when
say
they
it like
won.
this. I think the play-in. I don't think the play-in tournament is a bad idea. The in-season tournament, the one it starts the season up, early. I don't like that. Um, I don't like the.
I'm
I don't
sorry,
really like the NC.
I realized I got this thing saying wrong the whole time. In season, I meant the play-in tournament. We did the in
Right.
season and the December episode. Yeah.
I, I think the play-in. I think the play-in is it's okay. It's a way to make sure that um, we get some energy towards the end,
Mhm.
because I do think sometimes when teams have clinched, or when teams have clinched, sometimes they rest a lot of people, and again, people are paying. But if I'm looking like, hey, I don't want to fall into the play-in tournament, I'm gonna keep playing and get my wins. If I'm looking like, hey, I want to get into this playing tournament, then they keep. So that's good. Um, I just think that there's a lot. I think that would have been good probably at any time in the league. You know what I'm saying? Just to have that ending go well. But there's something that's got to happen with the players, because the difference between Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan and a lot of people was when they would say it. These people are paid a lot of money to come see me play, and they may never get to see me again. So I'm going to do my best. I owe it that that right. That's the game, and I think a lot of players don't feel that way today. So they'll be like, "Hey, I did good. I got 20 points. I scored 24 points. I did. What else you want me to do? I want you to look like you're trying to win the game." You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, we no, I didn't play in the NBA. We played with guys. We've been on the floor with people who play in the NBA. We've been on the floor, and just shoot around, just playing pickup.
Mhm.
And when guys got room, they're gonna light it up. When they don't, that changes stuff. The way the game is played today is so much open space, and guys who can shoot are gonna really. It's gonna be easy to get 20 points. So you can get a stat line and still look like you really weren't trying to play hard. You know, you're not going for a loose ball, or you letting the guy beat his man, and you don't come in and assist and help out. You know, um, missing on switches and things like that, and then your team is always losing. I think there's a lot that they're trying to. Let me put it this way: I think there's a lot that Adam Silver is trying to do to instigate people showing effort. And like I said, right now I'll watch something else. Even when it's the playoffs, I'll watch something else. It's not. It didn't used to be that way. I would be like,
Right.
hey,
That was appointment television. Yes.
what time?
You would get
What
all your
time Kobe
chores
didn't play?
done.
What
You
time?
cut the
Yeah.
grass. Yes.
What time? What time?
Yeah.
What time? Michael didn't play. What time? Penny and Shaq play. What time the game come on? You know, and there was always this sense that if Chicago and Detroit played on Sunday on NBC for everybody to see it, they was going to try to send a message.
Of course.
They were going to try to send a message. They were going to try to beat each other. And I see sometimes guys are kind of like, you know, going through the motion or whatever, and that's not entertainment. I think it's going to be a problem um, with the game going forward.
And especially when the only people that would challenge LeBron was either like a Deshaun Stevenson or a Lance Stevenson. That's not what they. You need a KD. You need a Steph Curry. Not these two yahoos. You know, I get it. And I love me some Lance Stevenson. As the Pacers guy, hey, look, at least he wasn't scared. He tried. Danny Granger just wasn't that guy. Paul George wasn't there yet. And Lance was like, look, I'm going to try to get out here and bust his head. I'm Lance Stevenson. I'm from New York.
But
Look,
you
he had
appreciated
all
that.
the swag. But
You
at least he
appreciated
gave
like
effort. Yes.
You look and you say like LeBron is clearly the better player overall. And
Right.
Lance Stevenson is an NBA player who might have a better game than LeBron, every once in a while. Or, get a key steal out or whatever. But the effort that you saw was, okay, this dude gonna mess with LeBron. This dude gonna try to get in his head, and he
Blowing
had
in
to
his
handle
ear
it.
and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No disrespect to Lance Stevenson, but it's like, okay, LeBron James on one level, Lance Stevens on another. But guess what? I see somebody giving effort. I see him try.
Right. So
He'll
he's
get a
trying.
steal. He'll do.
Right.
Yeah, now I see dudes who will look and they're like, okay, I'm not gonna. I'm not. I'm not.
Matter on
I'm not gonna do
defense.
nothing. I'm not gonna get embarrassed. You know. So I think that's why they put it in there. They've got to try to create some entertainment value because it's kind of lacking.
Yeah, because especially, and I'll say this one last point, and then we'll go to the next point. Like even with Philly, like a team like Philly, a team that I got to see play with them with the Embiid thing. They're just trying to hold on, trying to hold on. They would rather not be in the play in, so that gives Embiid a few more games of a few more days to recover. But it seemed like everything is on schedule for him to maybe come back that last week of the season, play 1 or 2 games to ramp up, go into it. So if they right now Philly's in the 7th seed, if Philly stays in the 7th seed, then they have to play in the play-in game. If they don't, if they can somehow get in the 6th, they can worry. They don't have to worry about that. But even something like
But
that
it,
kind of, and the Philly is a team that you would think if you bring in Joel Embiid back, even at 7, you want to see him in the first round. Depending on how he looks when he come
but
back.
it still adds intrigue though.
Yeah,
It
it adds a
still
lot of intrigue.
adds intrigue. So
I think if this was the old school days, it'll be like, oh man, the season's lost, because we probably would slide all the way out. See, at least at 7, you knew that even when he went down, there was like what, 3rd or 4th? There was no, I think it was 4th in the East when the injury happened. So you knew that because you got to play in at all the way 10, you're not going to slide all the way. Like Orlando and Atlanta and Charlotte, they weren't just going to get, in Brooklyn, they weren't going to get good enough overnight for you to slide from 4 all the way to 10 all the way out. In the West, you probably could, but in the East, you're not going to slide that far. So that thing is, we'll try not to, but let's keep the slide at least where we know we got to play it, and it gives intrigue and it gives hope for the Philly fans. So, yeah, but if this was the old rules, they'd be wringing their hands like, "Oh, don't let us fall to 9." Then wait, season's over. So, but even for somebody that had an injured star, that still gives the team hope because they feel like, and we've seen it with this league. You mess around, just get in wherever your seed is. You mess around and still win. We've seen the Heat making it from an 8 seed. We've seen it all. And it's like, who's the healthiest at that time of year? Getting their act together. Who's playing best for the last 2-3 months? Sometimes they just catch fire and then boom, now they got their act together. So, all right. Going to the next topic. Like I said, apologies. I said in season. It was supposed to say um, play in, but they didn't. So the second thing I
I
want to
got you.
talk about is WrestleMania, the road to WrestleMania. I
Nice.
will admit I have watched a lot more Raw and SmackDown lately. I kind of do this pretty much every year because my personal favorite of all the of all the pay per views is Royal Rumble. First thing is because it's kind of close to my birthday to start with, and then second of all, um, it's the kickoff. It's the kickoff. The winner, is pointing at the sign, and and now everything that goes from that for the next 2.5-3 months, and it's almost like any storyline you hadn't picked up, or even for somebody like us, that are diehard fans who grew up diehard fans, played the wrestling games, all that. Even though we may not know all the different people and all the inner workings, if you can just pick it up from Royal Rumble in, you pretty much are good to go. You're pretty much good to go. You can pick it up from Royal Rumble in or January, New Year's. I know now they're trying to do this whole thing with New Year's. give everybody a week or two off for Christmas, and then come back for New Year's Day. And now let's kick it off and get stuff raring to go, lead into the Royal Rumble, and now lead that all the way into WrestleMania season, as they call it. And you just pick it up there. And so, I think it's doing good. I know with the whole thing with The Rock, and they're going to do this whole Final Boss thing, and him being a bad guy, and the ending of Raw that was this past Monday with him and Cody Rhodes. Some people are saying it's one of the best in decades for Raw. I didn't think it was that level, but I will say it has been way better than we've seen in the past. Now with Triple H assuming full booking and all of that, and the vestige of all the folks that was under the old regime is being funneled out. Even the way they're shooting some of this stuff, they're doing stuff they've never done before, Marcus. Like there was one clip. Oh my God! I wish to God I could find a copy of not this week's Raw, last week's Raw. So there was a scene where Dom and JD fought Ricochet, and they
Okay.
lost. And they're going backstage, because Dom then got, he's trying to help him carry. JD is helping them carry. And so, how, like, normally they go and they get ready to go back to what they call the gorilla position. And, usually the camera just stops there and they never follow them in the back. This camera did. Follow them, you see the gorilla position. Then they go out of the gorilla position out into backstage. And in the far backstage area, there is R-Truth and also and the Miz. R-Truth and the Miz are sitting there talking, yeah, and getting ready for their match. They're gonna fight Enda Sheer. And Enda Sheer is kind of walking by, and so so it's like the camera, you see Dom and them pass by, and they're like, oh, you're like, oh, okay, well, sorry for your loss, and now they're coming, and now they're walking back through the gorilla position and come out. He said, yeah, just follow my lead. And oh, so true. And it was like one of the most dynamic shots I've ever seen live. So it's like they're going out, boom, this next one coming in, and they follow them back out to the ring. And then once they get in the ring, they start walking around the ring. I mean, the cameraman is walking around. Dude, it was like, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, they're doing shots like that. They did a shot where, like, while one of the matches was going on, you got that front row section, and then you got a little walkway for the next section. Like, they took, like, a camera with a steady camera going, like, as the match was going on. You see what I'm saying? Or coming out from behind where Michael Cole and them is sitting, and then doing the slow pan. Like, they're trying to get artistically more creative with their shots. Now, some shots they know they can't do because it won't sell some of the moves, but they're not overcutting like they used to. Like every time you talk about cut. They ain't doing that. So yeah. So just your thoughts. I know I'm rambling on right now, but it's just been amazing.
I mean, I've seen a little bit lately, and I think it's definitely changed since The Rock has returned. Just to kind of the energy a little bit has changed. I think it's interesting when you hear people on online and social media. They're upset. They were upset. Why you got to bring The Rock back and all that stuff. And it's like, if you haven't noticed that it's turned up, if you hadn't noticed it's turned up, I don't know what where you been. And so it even goes back to that conversation with basketball. This is entertainment, and we're going to do the things that make people watch, and I think Cody Rhodes is definitely deserving. Like, he's one of them dudes, man. Cody Rhodes and his brother Dustin, those are dudes who are super talented. And Dustin's one who I think has always been overlooked. They do the gold dust and all that stuff. I'm just saying, the dude got moves on moves on moves. You talk about the bang moves and stuff like that, like a DDT, swinging neck breaker. Like, he just goes into stuff so fast, so quick. That I'm like, I think that's exciting, and I would like to see him elevated in wrestling. And it's kind of cool. I feel like Cody, in some ways, is kind of like kicked in the door and leveraged, his talent as well as his his acumen in the business to kind of get to this point. But I think it's definitely different. It's definitely turned up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's definitely turned up as far as the energy is concerned with this WrestleMania now that The Rock is involved. So I'm
It's
gonna be
almost
watching.
yeah, it's almost like somebody has to be the bad. Now with no Vince McMahon, you got to have somebody has to be the ultimate bad guy. So it's like okay, now granted, the, the fans and the social media with TKO, I understand why they wanted to keep Roman as champion instead of Cody winning it last year as Roman as champion because they were going through the sale with TKO and for the shareholders and stuff like that, they wanted to keep that standard and then just bring them in this year. Um, Now, that being said, you always have to have, and this is one thing I think I learned. It was either from you or Doug, your brother Doug, where y'all said one of the best thing about an action movie is how much can it make you believe that the villain can win. Like you have to have some serial doubt. Now, with some of this stuff with the final boss and the stuff with the Rock using a lot of profane language and the promos and stuff like that, and it's really been turning people off. And some people think he's almost overdoing it. Just almost just like yeah, I'm really going to be a bad guy, or like he's going into this whole heel Rock thing like he never could before because of all other considerations being done. I'm of the mindset, and then plus you got people thinking, hey, he got a movie you got to shoot. You got the UFL thing is going to have to get kicked off. At some point, how much longer is he going to be around in this final ball? Now, if this was going to be a way they write it to where he just goes away for a minute and he'll come back periodically, I la Vince McMahon, and be that okay. I think you can sell the fan base on this final ball. Like it may be like Cody might have won the battle, but he ain't won the war yet. You know. Well, I'm
Yeah,
more.
I think a part of what The Rock doing the final boss thing is we know him so well as Dwayne Johnson that it's kind of like when people don't want to be the darling anymore, they sort of have to really, really, really oversell the jerk part. You know what I'm saying? To get out of it. So it does seem like it's a lot more. Um, but he got some classics in there. He's got some new classic one-liners and things. You saw the one in Memphis, right?
Yeah, when he was doing the song thing, and of
Yeah,
course how he felt about Memphis. That's always I was like, yeah, Memphis. When he started talking about Channel Five, Channel
Channel
Five.
Five. You saw the little
Yeah.
dig on John Morant.
No, I missed that part. I didn't see all of the song.
He was singing a song and he was talking about I forgot how the line went, but he was talking about John Morant with guns, and everybody was like,
Oh,
"Ooh," you know. So no
yeah.
one,
See,
as usual, no one is safe.
no
No
one is
one is
safe.
safe
What is
when the
not
rock guy
not with
has
the
a
rock?
microphone.
Yeah. So, now let me ask you that. By the time I get to the next episode, WrestleMania would have happened. Do you think the interesting thing? Do you think Cody will win the title finally and finish the story?
I mean, by now he has to, right? He kind of has to. I think.
I still
Um,
don't think he gets it. There's a part of me. There's a part of me that believes he still won't get it, even after two WrestleManias main events, two now with them trying to drag his mama into this and all that. I'm like, really,
I mean,
son? It's like you really trying to sell like he'll never win it. I truly think
you think LA
this
Knight
is
wins it before he does?
you know what at the rate we're going. Oh God. But this is the reason why I believe that he wouldn't win it. At least not yet.
Okay.
there's several things at play, and some of this is off the wrestling circuit stuff. The first problem is the Hulk Hogan problem. I
Okay.
know with the lawsuits and stuff that came out, they've been naming different people and stuff like that. And at first, Hulk Hogan was supposed to have been named in the suit, but now people saying it was supposed to be Brock Lesnar. And now, if you look at that Monday piece, on one back of the WrestleMania trailers is a picture of Brock Lesnar. They don't miss. So why would you have the Brock Lesnar thing up there? If so, anyway, when Brock get involved, no telling, or they just doing just to tease folks, or you know how some of these things go. This stuff was been wrapped already for the longest. We ain't gonna change the money to do it now. It was just oversight. Just like when I went to the Baltimore Raw, that was right after the one where they the was Money in the Bank, or the one that they had in England, the little pay per view that was in England. Like one of the WWE tractor trailers had Jason Jordan still up there, even though he is a match writer. He writes matches, but they had him, in this perform little singlet. I'm like, Jason Jordan. I'm like, who wants to see Jason Jordan on the side of WWE? But because he's still employed with the company, I guess, if something happened, they need him to break out the singlet. He can do it. But anyway, so they don't miss. They don't miss. And Eric Bischoff did pick up a good thing. The fact that on the Cody's bus, the back of Cody's bus was a vodka brand, and how WWE and alcohol, professional wrestling has never mixed. Because it never quite worked. So the fact that they got him a vodka distillery, even though it's on the back of Cody's bus, is a WWE brand. And it's like a product placement without having to say anything. That's a good look for the WWE and professional wrestling. The reason why I said the whole Hogan problem is if Hogan it was still implicated, or if they know he's going to be implicated, then you need Roman to hold on to the belt to break his streak, so that the only one that's left is Bruno. Now, Roman is never going to catch Bruno. He would have to go like what, another 4 to 6 years to catch Bruno. Bruno's like, he's not going to catch Bruno. But he's only, if he was to hold on to the belt till at least September, like the third week of September, he could break Hogan's streak. You see what I'm saying? So, because remember, usually with the WWE, like we've seen it with, the wrestler that they have erased, and different other ones where anytime something bad happens, they try to do stuff to scrub them all out, or try to break whatever record they may have on their books. Let's get somebody in there that can break that record. Or somebody, okay, this person was the youngest person to be the world champion. Okay, let's put on Randy Orton to do that. Okay, they was a person that was number one in the Royal Rumble and then won. Okay, let's make Rey Mysterio number one. You see what I'm saying? And then have him to be in there 5 minutes longer to break, not only be number one, but then be in there longer. All this kind of stuff. So my thing is, if Hogan is going to be implicated in this, and they still know the whole thing hadn't came out yet, then you have to let Roman, because you won't let Roman get this close, because you're not going to let nobody else get that close to that much time in. Roman get this close and not break the record. That was my thing. I was like, why would they even put Cody back in there? Let the Roman do the Rock, because the way I wanted it was let Roman fight the Rock, and let him fight for the head of the table thing. That way the title is not up for grabs, and then go into SummerSlam, give him a rematch with Cody in SummerSlam. He doesn't win it, but then he drops the belt at Survivor Series. So that way he would have at least broken Hogan's record by maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You see what I'm saying? And then that way Hogan is erased, and it's just Bruno and Roman. You can't say Bruno, Hogan, and Roman. Now, if Hogan's is in the clear and they know he's going to be exonerated, then you ain't going to want to break Hogan's streak. That's what I'm saying. I don't know where the Hogan thing is. That's what I say. If Hogan's gonna be implicated, then you got to let him. You can't give it to Cody now. It would suck, because you got this main event 2 WrestleManias and he don't get the belt. And you don't give it to him on WrestleMania. You giving him to him in the Survivor Series or SummerSlam just kind of cheapens it to me.
So I'm just asking. So historically, being on the cover of the WrestleMania or WWE game, doesn't necessarily mean anything? Because I hadn't really kept up with that part that much.
Well,
Like I know that
because they're supposed to have made Brock Lesnar, like, if you update the game, they made him now unplayable character or non-playable character, NPC. That's what they call it, because of all the allegations and stuff now. So that's why it's like, yes, having Cody as the game and as the face, but it's like I feel real. And this is the other part. And Becky Lynch was on Ariel Helwani last week, and she talked about this, about Ronda Rousey and that whole thing, and her and Seth's contracts is up 2 months after WrestleMania. They still haven't been given an extension yet. So you're not going to have Seth go into a contract. And that's why I said I know Seth is going to lose his title. Whether you have, what's his name? Because he's still only got like 3 months. Well, because WrestleMania is April, May, June, and the first week of July is Money in the Bank. So there's only 2 more pay-per-views after WrestleMania before the next Money in the Bank. And so dude's got to cash it in at some point. So I'm thinking Drew gets his, and then some people are saying with Damian Priest could screw Drew, and that'd be the swerve that nobody see coming. That Drew finally wins, but only wins it for like 10 minutes because he's celebrating, and then Priest decides to come in, cashes it, and then ends up beating it. Now Priest walks out of WrestleMania as a heavyweight champion. They try to do some triple threat, and then somehow they can put Seth in retirement, and give him and Becky some time off. And my thing about Becky is, again, is she going to win the title? Because why would you give her the title? Which is why I didn't understand why she even got the title shot in the Elimination Chamber. Why, if her contract is going to be up in 2 months, you're not trying to give the belt to somebody on 2 months left on the contract? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. I'm talking about non-wrestling stuff. So that's why I'm like, even though WrestleMania is 2 days, it's in Philly, we're going to see how it goes with the 2 main events and the tag team, which they're trying to do 40 years later with Mr. T and Mr. T and Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant and Big John Studd or somebody, I forgot.
Roddy Piper?
Roddy Piper. Yeah, so I get it. They're trying to do the tag team thing 40 years later as an homage, which goes back into the whole Hogan thing. If Hogan is supposed to be so much of an issue, you're doing that because that was the only main event that had ever been a tag team match. You see what I'm saying? Why else would you do it 40 years later unless you're trying to erase the fact that one was already done as the biggest tag team match ever in WrestleMania history? You see what I'm sitting there, I'm like, where does Hogan fit in all this? And then if they find out he's been exonerated, you don't want to be like, oops, my bad, but you're not going to take the reign thing away from Roman or nothing. It's just, I don't know, man. It's like if Roman drops the belt, they have to be absolutely sure nothing's going to blow back on them with Hogan in this case. Because if it do, then it is good. Because you know where I would sit there? If I'm Washington Post, I could sit there and write and say, hey, Hulk Hogan, who was the second longest reigning WWE champion of all time, has been found guilty of sex trafficking or whatever. You don't want to have that. If I don't know, they make sure. You better make sure that comes out, because if it does, that's not gonna be a good look for TKO. It's just not.
Yeah.
So that's all. The Usos getting to fight each other. Okay, I'm happy, but Jimmy had to sell it for me. Jay, this whole main event, Jay Uso, the Yeet stuff. I love it. I love it all. I love all of it. My thing was like, okay, how are you going to sell Jimmy? And Jimmy like, okay, well, everything I've done is done because of me, which is some truth to that. So, of course, Solo going to be involved. Yeah, so I think there'll be still a few more surprises up, WrestleMania. When you got 2 days of stuff, yeah, you can figure out matches, throw something in there, bring out somebody we ain't seen or been on the shelf since God knows when. and make a comeback. You never know. A Punk get involved. They talking about making Punk either the commentator or the referee. That was funny, you know, because that's a whole nother thing. They had to do another swerve because it was gonna be Punk. To me, it was gonna be easy. Punk wins the Royal Rumble. Punk fights Seth Rollins. Punk ends up winning the title. Seth Rollins going to retirement. But with Punk getting hurt, now okay, now you got right back Drew McIntyre. Drew ain't beat him. He's 0-3. So Drew can say he had his moment. You know, 10 minutes. Because Damian Priest goes to take it. And now Damian Priest gets the proper payback for doing the solid, the Bad Bunny, and Backlash in Puerto Rico. Because have Priest even been pinned since? I don't think so. I don't think Priest has been pinned since then. And I went back and watched that match Sunday. I was like, wow. Because the two most amazing moments, of course, everybody talked about was CM Punk showed up to Chicago. And man, with Bad Bunny, that Shambhala, because in a lot of the Latin clubs I go in, that was the first Bad Bunny song I ever heard of. You know, I'm like, who is this dude with blonde hair sitting up there? And you had Ric Flair on your music video? Like, who is this dude? And I just remember the guns like, Shambhala, hala. I mean, just to see the whole stadium and singing this, oh man! And then there's a part in the video, and there's a part on the song where Ric Flair does his favorite, oh, and that was the only thing I was hoping. I said, Lord, let them play the song long enough. They get to the woo, and they did. They let it go just long enough to. Because I always do me. I don't speak Spanish, but I know Shambhala. Okay, I can say that. But when it gets to the wall, I know what it is. We do all of us guys in the club. We do the Ric Flair. I go, oh. That was okay. Okay, last topic. We making good. Making good. Okay, last topic. I wanted to talk about brotherhood and the sense of brotherhood. I wanted to talk about the power of brotherhood, and the reason why I say it is because I've had some situations in my life, some stuff in my life where I've seen where brotherhood, like you can have where people that can be rolling with you for 20, 30 years, you lose touch as time goes on, or like you can have like a really big argument and everybody just and it just and it just or something been building up, they have been unresolved, and then it just blows up, and it is just sad. Or you can say, yeah, we're brothers, iron sharpen iron, all this other stuff, and then you wake up one day and you realize you're not even really fit. You don't fit the group because either you're not as photogenic as the rest. Um, you may not be spiritual enough, or you may be too spiritual. I don't know. You may be, you're definitely not in the financial bracket they're in. And then it may be the age thing. You might be the old guy in the group. So, than the rest of them. Or it could be geographic. That all right, well, you don't live in the same area, so it's just enough to where you just get left out of stuff. But it's like I wanted you to talk on the power of brotherhood because like I don't have any natural, but I don't have any biological brothers or anything like that. So, and you have two. You have Vincent, who rest in peace, he passed on, and you have Doug. And it's just the power of brotherhood because I think as we get older in life, this is just me I guess just taking stock of a lot of stuff that's happened to me recently. Um, it is almost like I know as you grow and go in different levels, you can't take everybody with you. I get it, but um, but you don't have to be lonely at the top per se. Um, Tim Ross was on Instagram right after he did the Breakfast Club stuff. He was at the airport sitting, waiting to get on the plane to, I guess, go back to Dallas. So he sit there, he was just talking and stuff like that. And I guess during the interview, he had mentioned about Ty Tribbett. Anyway, somehow Ty came up in the live thing. And then Ty Tribbett actually happened to be watching the Instagram live, and he chimed in. And so Tim was like, oh, you're like, hey, come on, join in on the live. So he joined in on the live. and they said they're talking and Poe Ty. Ty looked like he on this green robe. He looked like it's like the robe that you wear if you going out to go get the paper. In the morning, one of those type of robes. I just laughed. Yeah, and he said, yeah, it's not my shave day. He said when you trying to keep the beard a certain length, he haven't shaved. He said, yeah, it's not quite that. Yeah. So anyway, joking about that, but the thing is, Tim talks about that in talking about how a lot of times when people say it's lonely at the top, no, it don't. It don't have to be lonely at the top. Especially when you got other good people in other areas in the faith that kinship. They have a kinship with, and they talked about how it was Bishop Henry Fernandez. They first met at his church in Florida, um, years ago, and how they've been rocking with each other ever since. And stuff and seeing how Ty grew, and then of course, and Tim has been going along, and now with this whole upset the grandma, how it just exploded. In almost a year and a half, he's been doing podcasts. Well, it'd be two, I think, in June or July, it'd be 2 years as a podcast. Yeah, he's only like a year older than me, and so a little bit younger than you, but a little bit older than me, and just how like overnight. So it's just one of those things that with brotherhood, man, I just it's really been heavy on my heart because I think we as men of faith, and then men of color, it's like we too often talk, okay, we just got to put our head down and get to the plow, and then especially with us having, especially those that have wives and kids, and now some of us got parents and in-laws that got to stay with us, or whatever, it's a lot. But I think of something to where whether it's a text thread or whether, I mean, the text threads and stuff like that is nice, but I think we need to have something where we as men can come together, or at least your circle, whoever. If not every year, maybe every other year. Don't go no more than 24, 25 months. Be like, look, let's get together. Let's go do something. Whether we just go sit in the log cabin, I don't know nothing about camping. I don't care. I'm not buying. But hey, just like we talked about the Crystal Lake, how if it was full of black people, how you said Credits Road, we see something crazy in the forest. We back in the
Oh
car. We
yeah,
going back to Credits Road.
yeah,
I always love how you say that. I've used that ever since then. But myself, Credits Road, Credits Road. Whether we
mm-mm.
went to like New York City or whatever, went to one of the spots where like hip hop was founded. There's enough stuff. Or whether we went to a game, we got like half dozen tickets to go to a baseball game or something. Just the fact that we're together, regardless of what we're doing. You know, um, I think even if it was just for a weekend, like 3 to 5 days, I think that would be positive. And that's something I definitely going to want to try to stress because I don't want to wake up and have a situation like happened like with my best friend with Kenneth, and where I wake up like I'm talking to my brother-in-law and I say I'm going to call him. He's going to be the first person I call on Valentine on the next day. And I get a text when I wake up at 6. He died at 1 o'clock in the morning. Heart attack, heart issues, gone. Or Chaz. You remember Chaz and
Right.
how I even still dealing with that, and he's been gone now 15 years, plus, and just yeah, so stuff like that, man. It's just that. It's just the time for us to let our hair down. We ain't got the wives, we ain't got the kids. It'll just be us and just for it. And how are we really doing? Take stock. Just like how they say we shouldn't go more than what is it? 5 years without checking for a colon and again a colonoscopy and all that other stuff once we turn 45, 50, whatever. Same thing I think we need to do as us as brethren. That's just me. That's not so.
Yeah, I mean, I think brotherhood, man, is it's not something you grow out of. You know, I think it really is God ordained, whether someone's your natural brother or you know they're your brother because you're like minded and like spirited. You know, um, talk about iron sharpens iron, right? You remember in the scripture where it talks about how you know it talks about how there is one that sticks closer than a brother. You know, but it's still using that term brother for you to see like, okay, so this is really valuable, but there's somebody whose relationship is even more valuable than that. So so you know that there's a precious worth to being a brother or to having a brother. And I think it's that and a lot of other things are kind of under attack today because I think relationships are under attack, valuing each other, being able to communicate with each other, is really under attack because people of all ages, of all genders, or all faiths are are having difficulty with that. And so when you have people who are close to you like that, it's important, like you said, to be able to spend time to catch up with each other, to talk and check on each other. Um, and at the same time, I think when you value brother, um, you're that person that pulls them out of, you know, bad choices, or you're there after they made that bad choice. You know, Doug would talk about this one time. You remember Tombstone? You remember the movie Tombstone?
Yes, I remember the movie Tombstone.
So you got Wyatt Earp, Virgil Earp, Morgan Earp, they're actual blood brothers, and then Doc Holliday is a family member. And Doug was pointing out how Doc Holliday was that dude who will be your friend, who's your friend, and he'll back your play even when you're wrong. But then probably behind closed doors say, "Hey man, you should have did this," you know. And I'm not saying that you know your brother needs to let you do wrong, but the fact that you will make a mistake and the brother will say, "Okay, let's deal with you," you know, behind closed doors, let's help you. That's one thing that's kind of bothered me about some of these things that have been going on lately. The Cat Williams interview, and you know, I see other people who are talking. Not to say that some of the things that they're talking about don't need to be talked about or addressed. Like if you think somebody is human trafficking, you think somebody is doing something illegal, you know, it's not that doesn't need to be addressed, but how you do it so you can win a brother back. You know, a lot of bad things are being talked about out of spite or just to be petty, but a brother does ultimately want to. If I can't save you, I need to help you see what you've done wrong. And I think we're not seeing that in society right now. We're not seeing that in in you know, in culture where people are so easily divided, people so easily at each other's throat, and a brother's not that. You know, a brother is I mean, like, man, I've known you. I don't even look. I don't even want to say how many years, but my hair was not this color. When you know, when we first met, but you know, you're definitely family to us. You know, and so you can feel it, you can tell it, you know it's more than, hey, that dude is pretty cool. There's a divine, you know, element to it. That this, you know, this relationship is ordained. You know, this is it's meant to be. You know, this is God ordained. And I just think being able to have that type of person who you can talk to and say, hey, look, you know, this is what's going on with me. You know, if you can you help me or can you hear me? But this is what's going on with me. And then that person being able to listen and to support, encourage, you know, whatever. Um, but I think as men, particularly, you know, black men, um, it's something we've got to value more. One last thing, you remember in the Old Testament, David and Jonathan, right? There's so many people who talk about their relationship. And there's one scripture where it says that David loved, I'm trying to see if I can say it right. David loved Jonathan, was it more than a woman or greater than a woman or something like that? And so recently, people have looked at that scripture and been like, oh, see, he's talking about gay relationships, you know, and I'm like, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the way that men are vulnerable and love each other. That it's not the same as a man and his wife or his girlfriend, right? There are there was a relationship that David had with Jonathan that added to him. Another guy said it like this. He was talking carnal. He was saying, look, it's good that a man shares with his wife and tells how he feels and different things like that. But another man who was close to him knows that a lot better, right? He knows how to help a brother navigate being a brother in a situation like that. For instance, if you knew I was having a bad day and you said, hey man, why don't you come over to the house and football games coming on, Saturday, let's kick it. I come over your house on Saturday. We got nachos, wings, football. And we sit down there. I come to the house. And I'm like, hey man, what's going on? We talking, watching the game, talking about the game, who our favorite player is, who we don't like. It's halftime. Now you look at me and you say, everything all right? And I'll be like, yeah, man, yeah, it's just some stuff going on at work, and it just getting on my nerve a little bit. All right, okay. And then we don't say nothing else for another quarter. And then you like, so this thing at work, it's kind of you talk to your boss about it a little bit, man. Just dude be tripping, it's he tripping like I just feel like I need to go somewhere else. Game's over with. It's a double head, a new game coming on. We watch half of that. Then you be like, hey man, I know a place they hiring pretty soon. You think you might want to, you know what I'm saying? And we went through all of that space and stuff, and we still enjoyed and all of those things. And you knew how to talk to me, and I knew how to hear from you. And then by the time it's over with, we've worked it out. Whereas with his girlfriend or his wife, she might be like, hey, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she's trying to talk to him like she wants to be talked to. And so that scripture was pointing out how David and Jonathan knew each other like men know each other. There's a reason it said the iron sharpens iron. There's nothing wrong with David talking to a woman, talking to his wife about how he feels. But the brother knew how David felt. And so those relationships are things that we still have to cultivate, because if I say, man, I feel vulnerable, you know how to talk to me. You know how to say, look, man, I get it. And that might be enough. Just you say, I get it.
Like even like Job's friends, I know people that, especially lately, has really gotten on their head, like all the stuff they did. But at least they showed up. It was there for him. They rolled in, you know. and at least it was there, you know. Took time out of the schedule, whatever. One of the coolest and one of the most touching things I had someone saying to me recently, another brother of the faith. And you know that you know him, know of him, had said to me recently. He said, Paul, he said, I know if something happened or if I called you and I said, hey, I really need you to be here to help me, either whether it's to talk to it like what we're talking about or something. He said, I know if I asked you to come, you would stop and drop whatever you would do and you would come see me. And that was so touching to hear that, because I was like, wow, now I would do it, but it was just the fact that he felt that deeply about me, and to be able to verbatim, I'm an affirmations guy, so from him the verbatim to say that to me, that really, I mean, I had the utmost respect for him already, but it just went shot through the roof that much more deeper, because it was like those are the type of friendships, that is the type of brotherhood that I seek for and I cherish. It's like, look, if something happened, we had like, look, let's reassess, let's do whatever, Or if it's something to where it's like, hey, I won an award and I want you to be there with me for the celebration or the grand opening or, what I'm saying, the world premiere, we're going to be on the red carpet or I'm getting a star on, Walk of Fame. I want my boys to be there with me. You know what I'm saying? Even, because a lot of times it doesn't always have to be a crisis. It could be a celebration as well, even for that, I just, yeah. So I just even to be there because I don't want to get to the mountain and then I'm looking for my boys and I'm like nobody's right, Yeah. So yeah. Yep, yep. Well, that's. Do you have anything else to add? Because that's all I had, brother.
No, no. I think it'll be a cool topic to come back to, though. Um, I appreciate you bearing with me. I hadn't been well. Was it last week or whatever, something like that? And I had this lingering cough that's kind of been messing with me. So I think we should, yeah, that's a good one. I think brotherhood is one that probably needs some more digging into.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll do it on a reasonably said, episode or whatever. Because I think it's one of them things that's missing for brothers being comfortable enough to to cherish their brotherhood and to nurture it and build it. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it's, I mean, I think it's something that we need to see because even though you and I have a different relationship as brothers, I think there's a lot of other men who have a type who can experience a type of brotherhood with other men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like, Paul's my dude, like he's family. But then the brother on the street, you may not be Paul, but there's a level of respect that you instantly should get, you know. Um, and I think we're not doing that. Everybody is an op, everybody's an enemy, and so we treat certain things a way that's killing our society. Um, so anyway,
Oh yeah.
so I don't
Uh,
have anything more on there, but I think we should do it again.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. It just because even like Duke, I don't care for Duke. I was a Carolina guy. I don't care for Duke, but how they really branded this whole the brotherhood thing. Now when they got the little shield with the Duke thing and they have the brotherhood stitched on it, like how they really have leaned into that, especially the last year or two with Coach K and now with Coach Shire, like how, like no, this is a because it really hit me watching the tournament because again, the last game they played against James Madison, it was a game and I'm watching it because I have people that I know, family who like their point guard Xavier Brown. I've known him since he was like 10 years old, and now to see him grow up and now he ended up going to JMU. I'm like, Lord Jesus, he's going to JMU. At least he didn't go to VCU, but but anyway, just to see him, so I have a vested interest really vested interest. But even seeing them play against Duke, and Duke always had that one game where they shoot lights out, and that's the game. They shoot lights out, and then the next game they kind of stink it up. But anyway, my whole point of was brotherhood because it really helped me see Duke in another light because it was like Duke was always that team in the tournament. People will watch just to see them lose, always see them win. Like there's not nobody that's like neutral on Duke. So the play for Duke, it's almost like you either dream of playing for Duke or you dream about playing against Duke and being Duke. Like I think it was no kids, no. I don't know if they even thought this out or whatever. Like so, even the commercial, they just ran a commercial with Coach K is sitting there talking about what it means, having your name on the back of your jersey. You know what I'm talking about? And it was like a promo for the U.S. Army because Coach Krzyzewski went to Army, played for Bob Knight, and and all of that. So about that's part of the thing that you bear and those that come before you, da da da, and it's part of the team. It would help identify you as a member of the team, being in the U.S. Army and talking about basketball, right? And so the player that they have that they're using as an example is C.J. McCollum, and of course he has on the Lehigh, you know, Lehigh sweatshirt, on the back it has McCollum 3, and of course we know what was Lehigh's biggest win, them beating Duke, So I'm like, he did this on purpose, some offense. But you see what it adds to that narrative of Duke and that brotherhood. It's like either you with, you know how they talk about Detroit versus everybody, Cleveland versus everybody. Duke is definitely Duke versus everybody. It's definitely Duke. It's like either you're in the brotherhood or you're just not, you know. And if you're in that brotherhood, and just it's supposed to mean that how it's supposed to linger even outside of the program. It's like for life. Like this is the brotherhood for life. Yeah. So I knew Zion was going to go when they was talking about, they said, oh, Zion's going to make a selection. And they showed the little video. I think it was like Trey Jones. It was like R.J. Barrett, and Trey Jones, and Cam Reddish. They did like a little video together. And they were like, yeah, man, I'm coming. Yeah, Cam like, yeah, I'm coming. Da, da, da. And Trey Jones got on the end, or whatever the youngest Jones brother was like, because I know there was Ty Jones, Trey Jones. There was like two or three of them that played for them. He said, Zion, come on, man. You need to come here, be part of the brotherhood. When he said that, that was the last thing they said for the guy. I said, he going to do. The brother, he going to do. He going to do. Lo and behold, he went to do. So, yeah, the pull of the brotherhood is strong. So, and that's what it should be, you know. Yeah. So we shouldn't have to carry all this weight alone, you know. We shouldn't
Yeah.
have to. We shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Paul's Paradox Podcast. This is once a month. Okay, yeah, an hour and 16 minutes. Okay, did good because I wanted to keep it between an hour 20 minutes. No more, definitely no more than an hour and a half. But I like to, and Marcus, of course, well, you can find me on social media. I am at Acidic ACYDIC on Twitter, Clubhouse. Instagram, I'm at Live Live Online. I don't have Snapchat, and I definitely don't have TikTok. So, Marcus, I don't know how they can reach you.
You can't reach me yet. I'm Batman.
He's Batman. Okay, he's Batman. Okay. Well, then you should have been at the award show. You had the Penguin and Mr. Freeze. Yeah. Can't reach me. He's Batman. I would have thought he'd been more James Bond, but yes, but we are. But
You
I like to
reach me.
say,
You
I
reach
tell
me
people,
through
I
Paul.
am
That's how you get to me.
yes, yeah.
Through
I am
producer
not
Paul. You
Bruce. I'm not Bruce Wayne. I am Wayne Bruce. I am the Black Batman. I am Wayne Bruce. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, like I said, you can always reach us here. You can leave a comment here on YouTube or on X. I don't no longer call it Twitter. But until next time, for Marcus Walker, I am Paul Briggs. I'd like to thank y'all for listening and watching the Paul's Paradox Podcast.